Okay. So these are the 6 Indian philosophical systems, and it is given by rishis who had, through their own consciousness, come to this revelatory knowledge, which showed them, who am I? What is the purpose of life? So at that time, the societies were well set, everything was okay, and people had time for contemplation, for really going within. So very, very briefly, okay, just to tell you what are these 6 systems, because you must be very clear on this word Sankhya. And I wouldn't have done this if I hadn't done Yoga Sutras, but many of us know the Sankhya system. And I myself, when I studied this, was confused. I thought that this Sankhya Yoga is the same as the Yoga Sutra Sankhya Yoga, but it's not. So the first two, so Nyaya and Vaisheshika go together. These are sister schools. Nyaya uses logic to explore the nature of reality. It was given by sage Gautama, and Vaisheshika was given by Maharishi Kannada, who said that everything is made up of atoms. So this whole system, this philosophical system, is based on atomic theory. Then there is Purva Mimamsa and Vedanta. So Purva Mimamsa is the previous part of the Vedas. Okay, Veda, the word Veda means to know. So Purva Mimamsa has, all the rituals, the Karma Kand and all of that. And Vedanta is the last portion of the Vedas, which includes Brahma Sutras, Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So, and the Vedanta is not big on ritualistic practices and worship, which is all part of Purva Mimamsa. So these two are sister schools. So Mimamsa philosophy was given by sage Jaimini, and Vedanta is attributed to Vedvyas. Then there is Sankhya and Yoga. So Sankhya system is a dualistic system, which where we look at Purusha and Prakriti. I'm not getting deep into it. It's just a dualistic system to come into the realization of who you are. This whole idea of I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, is something that you come through Sankhya Yoga. It is given by sage Kapila. And yoga is the sister school of Sankhya, which is based on this Sankhya philosophy, the dualistic system of Purusha and Prakriti. When we say yoga, we mean Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is also part of this Shad Darshana philosophy system. Okay, so these are 6 schools of Indian philosophy. Okay, Bhagavad Gita falls in Vedanta, Yoga Sutras falls under yoga, and it's a sister school of Sankhya. Now, when we say that Yoga Sutra is based on Sankhya, does it mean that when Krishna is saying Sankhya Yoga, yoga of knowledge, it is not Patanjali's Yoga Sutras? Okay, don't confuse this. So I had spoken about this to Manoj, and Swami Sarvapriyananda also explains. He says this Sankhya Yoga refers to a very, very ancient method of coming into knowledge. And this coming into knowledge happens through Viveka, through discernment. This is real, this is not real. This is permanent, this is impermanent. And how does one come into this knowledge? It's like this. It's like if it is told to you, it just happens. So this was really a path of renunciance. Osho says this is about Sankhya. Those who followed Sankhya, it was like a do-nothing system. In Yoga Sutra, we are speaking of Kriya Yoga. In Sankhya system, it was just do nothing. Simply sit. You go within and it will be revealed to you. Or if it was just told to you, you will come into its realization. It does not become information for you. You simply come into that knowledge. It becomes an experiential reality for you. So it's a very ancient and classical system. Just don't get confused. I wanted to clarify that before we start. Okay. All right. So path of knowledge through Viveka. What does Viveka mean? Viveka means discernment, slicing and dicing. This is real, this is unreal. That is what? Developing your discernment. If you have any questions, please leave your questions in the chat box and we will look at it later. The central teaching of Bhagavad Gita is in the 2nd chapter, which reveals the true nature of the self. This is what Swami Sarvapriyananda says. He says, it is also the core teaching of Advaita Vedanta. It's one of the longest chapters as well. So moving on. So just, I wanted to clarify this one more time. So Bhagavad Gita, I mentioned this when we met during our Gita Jayanti meet. There are 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses. So loosely, the Vedantins, when they look at it, they divide it according to this truth. Sattvam Asi is a truth in Vedanta, that thou art. You are that. They're saying there is no external God. That God or that self or that reality is you. You, it's all inside you. You are projecting all that. So Tattvam Asi. So the first 6 chapters are about Tvam, that, okay? Then 7 to 12, Tvam is you, sorry, the nature of you. And then chapter 7 to 12 is Tat, that. What is that? What is that God or that self? A self I'm using in the Vedantin terms, that, and Asi, are. You are that. He says it's a very, very loose sort of a classification. Then once I went through the whole of Bhagavad Gita, because I'm a yoga practitioner, in yoga we see any human system, if you look at it, is composed of 4 things: mind, body, emotion, and energy. Correct? These are the only 4 things that exist in a human system. Now, if you follow the path of mind, which is manas and intellect, then you are really walking the path of jnana yoga. Okay, you're coming into knowledge through that. You're coming into self-realization through that. If you are somebody who is emotionally very intense, then you can use your emotions and channelize them in such a way that you can come into self-realization through your emotions. Don't think jnana is the only way. People, Tulsidas, Mirabai came into self-realization through the path of emotion. That is called bhakti. You can become a bhakt and you can come into self-realization. Then there is karma. You can follow the right action and you can use your limbs. So when we speak of karma, using your limbs or organs of action to come and working in such a way, we'll come into karma yoga, but basically without any expectations, then it's karma yoga. The 4th is kriya. Kriya is working with internal energy. Then you can come. So say a Ramana Maharishi or the people who are into meditative practices, that is kriya. So these are the 4 methods through which you can come into yoga. Does it mean that if I am high on emotions and I'm following the path of bhakti, other things don't apply to me? No. You know, you are a human being who has been given all these capacities. Use them in the right proportion. We all have emotions. We all have that mind which speaks, which asks questions. We all have the capacity and the need to work with our inner energy, and action is something that we are all doing. So engage in the right action. In any case, you have to act. Why not turn this into yoga? Otherwise, it is always karma, 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 but karma yoga doesn't happen. So turn your action into yoga. What happens usually is that the bhakta, if you know, because I have read, I went through so many commentaries, I always see that, you know, Swami Mukundananda, because he's so big on the path of bhakti, he'll say, see, Krishna said, only when you are a bhakt, you will realize. If you listen to the Vedantin, Swami Sarva Priyananda will be so staunch on Advaita. This is it, the highest philosophy and no other way. And it's true, because the path that you follow, you must have that kind of conviction that this is what is going to lead me. If you don't have that kind of conviction and you're wavering, nothing will happen for you. So we understand that, but Sadhguru told us this. He said, see, you have all 4 capacities. You use them in the right proportion. And that's something which only you can decide. That's why throughout in Osho's commentary, he kept saying, understand your type. What type are you? And what is the dominant aspect in you? So if you are the kind who can meditate, and that's a dominant energy in you, work with that and use bhakti, jnana, and karma in a smaller way. If you are the kind whose life is such where karma is very big, then it makes sense to turn your karma into karma yoga, use other practices. So you've got to get the right ratio. There's a very cute story, very quickly I'll say. Once, this is from Sadhguru, okay? So he said once there were these 4 yogis, a Jnana yogi, a Bhakti yogi, Kriya yogi, and a Karma yogi. They were all walking together, and all these 4 will never agree. They will always say, my path is the best path. They will keep fighting with each other. Suddenly it started pouring, there was thunder, rainstorm, and they found this dilapidated temple, and they all ran for shelter there. There was a little roof with a pillar, and they all went and stood next to the pillar, hugged the pillar so that they could all be protected. And suddenly God appeared. So all four of them were surprised, saying, God, now? Why now in the middle of thunderstorm? We've been asking, praying, meditating, and you never showed up. And now, here in the middle of thunderstorm, because God said, now all the four of you have come together. And remember that. That's a very, very beautiful aspect of harnessing whatever we have. Harness your emotions, harness your karma capacity, your kriya capacity, and your mental capacity. Direct all four towards self-realization. Direct all four towards Krishna. And then something will happen. So when I studied the Bhagavad Gita, I found something. I observed, this is from me, okay? This is something which is my observation, that the first 6 chapters are really mind-oriented. Arjun is a question after a question. It is all about intellect. He's always questioning. So first 6 chapters are really dominant on the power of inquiry, the power of questioning. The 7th to 12th chapter is all about emotion. How will you use your emotion? And to come into bhakti, surrender, devotion, dedication, shraddha, what does it even mean? And then chapter 13 to 18 is about the energy practices that Krishna gives. So that's the kriya aspect. Karma underlines throughout. It is always pervading everywhere, throughout, except Sankhya a little bit, but otherwise karma yoga aspect and the idea exists throughout the Bhagavad Gita. So this is how I have seen. And very interesting. See, why does Krishna begin? Arjun is asking him, what should I do? Now, I want you to consider this. Suppose you have a person in your life, okay, somebody in your family, among your friends, who you know to be very spiritually evolved. Really feel it, that somebody in the circle of friends or family is like this, who's very evolved. Around this person, miracles seem to happen. Wherever he goes, some miracles happen. Wherever he goes, auspiciousness happens. Wherever he goes, victory happens. This kind of a person is there, very close to you. You know him. He's part of your family and friend circle. Okay? Really feel that you have such a person. Now, when such a person exists around you and you are in a deep state of distress, confusion, anxiety, and anguish, wouldn't you go and ask him, what should I do? You also love this person. You have a very nice relationship with this person. You will go and ask him, no, what should I do? And if this person says, do this, your immediate urge will be, just blindly follow him. Whatever he's saying, just do it. Is this true or not? Raise your hand. Just give me a thumbs up if you think this is not true. If someone like this existed in my life and he told me, Swati, stop all this. Just do this. It will be taken care of. I'm telling you. My goodness, I will drop. It is so easy to blindly follow when a man like Krishna is standing in front of you. Do you see that? It is so easy to blindly follow. Why will you not follow? My goodness, a man like Krishna is telling me do this. I'll stop all my thinking. I'll just follow him. And here is the credit that goes to Arjun. He does not blindly follow. He questions. He asks. Explain to me why. What am I doing? Is this right? He wants to evaluate. He's a उसको बोलते हैं विचारशील है वो, sensitive है, समझता है, cultured है. So he's coming from that space. And this is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. It does not start from Bhakti Yoga. It starts from Jnana Yoga. It starts from the mind. Krishna could have just said, leave, sarva dharma paritajya mamekam sharanam bhav. He could have said this the first time, no? Krishna could have done that, which he says in the 18th chapter. Krishna, Arjun, if you don't understand anything, leave everything. You just come in my Sharan and I will take care of everything. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I will take care of your material and your spiritual well-being. He does not say this in the first chapter. Krishna does something else because Arjun starts with question. So remember this. We do not ascribe to blind faith. We ascribe to Shraddha. Those of you who have studied Yoga Sutras understand what Shraddha means. Shraddha means you are trusting something because it has become your own experience, not blindly following. We will look at the idea of Shraddha, but Yoga Sutra practitioners have done that. So I just wanted to highlight this. Will you question? Think about this in your own life. Many of us sometimes want to blindly follow, the great, the gurus, whatever. But question, see if you have an answer. I thought it was very relevant. It was very insightful. So the first sloka of the chapter, Sanjay said, seeing Arjun overwhelmed with pity, his mind grief-stricken, and his eyes full of tears, Sri Krishna spoke the following words. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear Arjun, how has this delusion overcome you in this hour of peril? It is not befitting an honorable person. It leads not to the higher abodes but disgrace." So what is Krishna saying? Krishna saying, what kind of attitude is this, Arjun? You're bringing disgrace and dishonor to everybody. Is this the way to behave for a Kshatriya? He's actually reprimanding him. Arjun expected, Krishna will say, "Yes, Arjun, I think what you're saying is right. ये सबको मार के क्या होगा? Let's not kill anybody. Pack up. Let's go home." This is what he wanted him to say. But Krishna reprimands him. A few words here which are relevant. When seeing him overcome, kripaya. Kripaya means pity, okay? Notice the word kripaya is used, not karuna. What does karuna mean? Compassion. We have all, Buddhism, Yoga Sutra, we have spoken so much on compassion. But he does not say Arjun is overcome by compassion. Arjun is overcome by kripaya, pity. I will have kripa on them. That kind of thing. And Krishna tells him, "An-arya." You are being deluded. The way you are behaving is not befitting an Aryan. So Aryan is what the people of those times were called. And Aryan was somebody who was a gentleman, who was respectable, who would stand by his words, who would follow dharma. And what was the Aryan's purpose of life? The Aryan would would act in a dharmic way because for higher abodes, so that he would go to heaven. That is the way Aryan has been defined. Now, so Krishna, instead of giving comfort to Arjun, makes him even more uncomfortable. What is this way? What are you doing? Now, a little bit on this word pity. We must understand this. Now, pity, Arjun is overwhelmed with pity. What is the difference between kripa and karuna? So I want you to do this practice. Yoga Sutra practitioners have done it, but let's do this. Everybody just sit. Just close your eyes. Keep your hands on your knees. Keep your spine straight. Just be with me. So you're walking on a street, okay? And on a street in India, you're all very familiar with it. You see a child there. He's in torn clothes. His face is dirty. And this child is begging for food. And you look at him and you feel bad, and you don't know what, you don't have any food, so you take out some money, you give it, or if there is a shop nearby, you buy some food for him. Okay? Just notice what is rising in you when you see this child and how you do. Now, stay there. Now, you are back on that street, and that child whose face is got mud, he's in torn clothes. Many of us are parents here. Put your child there. Your 7-year-old child. Do you remember his face? 7 years old, how your child looked? You put that child under this tree with his face dirty, his clothes torn. He's crying for food. He's hungry. He has not eaten. And you see him. Your eyes are on him. You are looking at your own child who has not eaten food, who is hungry, whose face is all dirty. His clothes are torn. Notice what is rising in you. And return. I don't know. If you saw a difference, just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, some of us see a difference. There is a little bit of difference there. Suddenly, it's not that you cannot be kind to that child. We can be kind. We can do something. But when we see our own child, there's a different emotion. There's a little bit of, it's a subtle shift, but there can be a shift. Many of us may experience, some of us may not experience, but this is one of the ways to just realize the difference between pity and compassion. So pity is something which is circumstantial, okay? It makes you feel good about yourself. Someone is begging for food. You give him food, and that person, sometimes in New York stations, there are people who are asking for meal, help me. And I remember I gave bread or something to somebody, and this guy goes, "No, I don't want bread. I want this or that." And I'm like, "Hello, first you're begging for food, I'm giving you something that you don't even want." So it's like when you offer something to someone who is begging and that person refuses, in a little way, your ego gets, "What the hell? I'm giving to you and you still have a problem with it." So pity is like this. Pity arises from a state of ego. I can do something. Oh, I can be your God for a little bit, and I can do something for you. And if you refuse, my goodness, my ego gets hurt. this is pity. Compassion is different. Compassion says no child should ever go hungry. No human being should ever go hungry. It's not about whether I can do something for this child or not, whether I can feed this person. Nobody should ever experience this. Aisa, this is what happened to Buddha. Buddha said, suffering, there is no point in wars. There is no point in kingdom. If everything is suffering, nobody should suffer. That is why he was genuinely established in ahimsa. Arjun was not. So pity has a way of nourishing ego. It will do that. And okay, we'll talk a little bit more about this. Something to learn from Arjun. There is something called a humble ego. So Arjun is saying, how can I kill? Okay? There is see, pity is like a good man's ego, and cruelty is a bad man's ego. Just understand this. So a good man's ego is, how can I kill? It's better I kill myself. So pity will say, I will become a martyr. मैं क्यों इनको मारूं? I will go die myself. This is pity. Cruelty is that which is going to kill the other, wants to kill the other, wants to destroy the other. That is Duryodhan. Okay, so it's something like this. Pity means I cannot see anyone starve. Okay, I cannot see anyone starve, but I can starve myself. Both are egotistical. Understand that. I am not going to starve you, but I can starve myself. Both are egotistical. Both are coming from a place of ego. This is how it works. Pity works on ego. Now, Arjun's humility, how can I kill? It's all very defensive egotism. Just look at that. So, where is his emphasis? I am not so bad. How can I be such a bad person? I'm not so bad as to kill my grandfather and my guru. Tomorrow, what will people say about me? You know, he wants to save his face. That is why he wants to run away. And he wants Krishna to approve it so that nobody else calls him a coward. He's a Kshatriya. He understands that. If he runs away, people will call him a coward. He doesn't want to be called a coward. So, see, he is not putting emphasis on their worthiness. Now, if Arjun runs away, somebody else will kill Bhishma and Drona. No? Arjun can run away, but they will still get killed. He doesn't have a problem with that. I should not kill them. That's his problem. He is not recognizing their worthiness, that nobody should kill them. What is this? It is not coming from a place of protection. So, and this aspect of ego, Arjun is not seeing within himself. So whenever ego is active, there is no midpoint in us. We swing either to this side or to that side. We are on extremes. And that is what is happening with Arjun. That is what is something that we must take and use it as a lens in observing ourselves. Am I swinging to this side or to that extreme? So what is humility? See, so this humble ego is something like this. I can be the martyr, you know. I will kill myself, but I will not kill the other. This is called the humble ego. So Swami Vivekananda says, humility does not mean you become a doormat to other people. Humility means your ability to appreciate greatness in others. That is what humility means. Just because I can appreciate greatness in you or something wonderful in you or talent in you, it does not mean that I'm not confident about myself or I don't have this. I'm not saying that, oh, what a wonderful thing you have. I may already have it, but I'm confident in my abilities. I'm confident and comfortable with who and what I am. I don't have problems about myself, but I can appreciate you and I can celebrate you. But if I'm saying, oh, you have this, oh, so nice, and I start feeling, oh, I am no good, I cannot do this, I do not have these capacities, then I am suffering from inferiority complex, something that we discussed in chapter 1. Okay, does that make sense? What is humility? What is humble ego? Okay, so pity is the act, I discussed that. Pity is the act of a good man's ego and cruelty is an act of a bad man's ego. Now, the way Arjun speaks, he talks as though he never opted for this war, as though he had no inkling of it. Did he not agree to it? He had agreed to do this, no? And in this verse, what Krishna is trying to do is he's actually trying to bolster his ego. Arey, Arjun, you're an Aryan. How can you stop this? You're a Kshatriya. You should fight. He's actually trying to crystallize his ego. See, is ego a bad thing? Ego is not a bad thing. Ego is something that you need. Ego is the positive aspect of ego is virya, energy, courage. If you don't have ego, you would not have accomplished anything in life. It is because you say, I can do it. I will study for my PhD. I will complete my master's. I am going to do this work. I will accomplish this. This is the strength and the positive aspect of ego. This is called sattva, sattvic ego. So ego is actually which helps us accomplish things in life. But if it takes you into a zone of pride and it takes you into creating this humble ego, then you're becoming complicated. Then there are complexes rising in you. Then you have lost your centeredness. If you are divided, a divided mind is a mind that will not accomplish anything. At least if you are centered, if you're collected, if all parts of you are together and you're not fragmented, you come into sattvic ego. Once you come into sattvic ego, at least if Arjun makes a decision, I'm going to do something. This is what I'm going to do. There is a possibility for him to transcend. You cannot transcend from a place of fragmentation. This is what in Yoga Sutra we spoke of this as vitarka. First, become one-pointed. Till you become one-pointed, till you become one whole unit, till you are integrated within yourself, possibility of transcendence does not exist. So Arjun is very divided, and somehow Krishna is trying to see, does he really have any depth in what he's saying? Will he become one-pointed? Can I push his ego and can he come to that state of at least a sattvic ego? So so this is the egoic state of mind. See, this is very, very quickly, this is our model. Everybody has these models. Vedanta also has models. We have 25 tattvas that we speak of in Yoga Sutras. There are 19 tattvas they speak of in Vedanta. They speak of Sukshma Sharir, Sthula Sharir. But just to give you an idea that these models exist, even in Bhakti, everybody needs a structure or a lens. Any philosophical system needs a lens to see and understand life. This is the lens that is given to us in Yoga Sutras, where we say, who are you? What are you made of? They will tell you, you are nothing but 5 gross elements. What are these 5 gross elements? Earth, water, fire, air, and space. In our tradition, we say, no, when somebody dies, earth returns to earth, fire returns to fire, water to water, and so on. So you have these 5 gross elements. On top of that exist subtle elements, which is earth is connected with smell, water is connected with taste, touch, all of this, sound. Then you are made up of organs of action. You have 5 organs of action. So legs, arms, those forms, organ of speech, reproduction, digestion, these are organs. Then there are Jnanendriyas, the 5 senses which exist here on your face, hearing, seeing, smelling, all of those. Then there is manas. What is manas? Manas is this place of emotions, feelings, likes, dislikes. This is called manas. On top of manas exists ahamkar, which is ego. What is ego? Ego is that which individuates you, that which gives you your unique talent and unique ability. Why is Gayatri Gayatri and why is Swati Swati? Because Gayatri has certain abilities and Swati has different abilities. So this is what individuates us, makes us unique in our own capacity. So ego is not a bad thing. Ego is your unique capacities. And on top of ahamkar exists buddhi, intellect. And then there is the idea of prakriti, purusha, consciousness. Very briefly, broadly, this is not part of Gita, but I just want you to know that structures exist. These are lenses through which we understand the nature of reality. Now, sattva, rajas, tamas, if you don't know, don't worry, we'll speak about this later. Now, Krishna is trying to push Arjun's ego to a sattvic point, which is where he becomes one-pointed. Now, if we all have ego, we have all heard of dissolving the ego. How do you dissolve ego? Should I push it away? People keep saying, no, I hear this so much from Vedantas. Ego, stay away from ego, Push it away. Can you push it away? It's a part of you. It is a part of your machinery, what you are made of. It's like saying, I don't want my leg. My God, my leg bothers me. So we are all self-deceptive like Arjun. Anything good that I did, I did. Something bad I did, no, my ego made me do that. What do you mean? You are one person or are you two? Are you a split? Are you schizophrenic? So see yourself. I'm one person. If I do good, I do bad, it's all me. Take that responsibility. If you're going to say that I should push my ego, it doesn't work. It's like saying I want to cut one limb of my existence. It's not going to work like that. So Sadhguru explains this very nicely. He says, ego is like your shadow. Now, if you say I want to run away from my shadow, you'll go neurotic. So people who are like this, who are saying I want to run away from ego, cut ego. There is no such thing. You cannot cut ego. Wherever you go, your shadow will follow you. And if you start thinking that somebody is chasing me all the time, imagine you will go mad. So how do you break out of ego? Turn around. Just turn around and look at the shadow. And you know this is the shadow. This is all it is. It is nobody following me, nobody chasing me. It is simply my shadow. Awareness of this is what is going to help you dissolve your ego, which means ego will still exist in your existential system, in your human system, but you will not be compelled by it. You will not be operating from a place of ego. We discussed this a lot in Yoga Sutras. I wrote a piece on this. Maybe I'll share it on this group as well. So how to dissolve? So Arjun's situation is so first you have to crystallize ego. Arjun's situation is loved ones not killed by my hand, but at the other people's hands it can be killed. So ego is that which separates you. Ego is what creates boundary because this is my unique capacity now. This is the boundary, and this becomes the other. So this is why we are saying Arjun is dominated by his ego. Whatever he's saying is coming from a place of ego. He is not in compassion. He is not somebody whose violence has disappeared, who is feeling compassion. He is in pity, and that is a reflection of ego. So also says, first you crystallize the ego, make ego sattvic. If ego becomes sattvic, you can become transcendental. If you do not understand what I'm saying, that's why I shared that piece from Sri Sri Ravi Shankar on our group chat. I will keep doing that because Gita is so extensive, so wide. We are meeting for 1 hour. Please keep reading up. I'm going to keep you really active and involved. You must, if Gita means something to you, if Krishna means something to you, you want to invite Krishna in your life, you got to be on this all the time. And I will keep sending, keep reading. We'll have to keep working through this. Then it will happen. Then something will happen. Otherwise, this is just another text added on my book list. I've read it. Gita is not like that. It has to be part of your bloodstream. So Sadhguru said, so I shared that with you. So through awareness practices, through witnessing, ego will dissolve. You will transcend it. Or another way of transcending ego, make everybody yours. If this is my boundary and I say only this, my people, make this person also mine. Gayatri is also mine. Kavita is also mine. Anu is also mine. Everybody is mine. This is Krishna's path. He includes everybody. Either you become nothing, which is part of Buddha, or you become like Krishna. Everybody is part of me. Include everybody as part of yourself. And many of us, we're Indians who are coming from that tradition. It's very characteristic of our culture. We use the word apnapan. It's very unique to Indian culture. So and it's coming from this. It's flowing down from here. So Arjun's point is, if I kill them, it is a problem. They get killed in the war. He is okay with it. I will run away. Somebody else kills them. He's okay with it. Notice that. So much self-deception there. Now, so remember this. See, ego exists wherever love begins to get diluted. Ego cannot exist if the emotion of love is strong in you. If your emotional state is very sweet, ego cannot exist. Ego exists only when your emotional state is getting toxic. If you can make your emotions sweet, ego cannot exist because it is very easy to include another as part of you. Like even among friends, you say, okay, whatever you say, it's all right. We are okay with it. So just some things to ponder and reflect on, some things that we must learn from the Bhagavad Gita. O Parth, it does not befit you to yield to this unmanliness. See, he's hitting him where it hurts. You're being unmanly. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O vanquisher of enemies. So he addresses him as Parth, and he addresses him. Parth is a son of the warrior queen, because Kunti's name was also Pritha. And she is a warrior princess, she's a warrior queen. And she tells Krishna when this war begins that the moment has come for which warrior queens raise these sons. So whenever names are used, they are used with certain connotations. Krishna uses a certain name for Arjun, Arjun uses a certain name for Krishna. So one of the things that we are going to start doing, and I'll do this on group chat, is chapter 1. What were the names that were used for Arjun? What were the names that were used for Krishna? By the end of chapter 18, everybody should have memorized it. Let's memorize it. Something we should memorize. See, naam ki mahima hai. Naam mahima suna hai na? Vishnu Sahasrananam. What is it? Names of Lord Vishnu. 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. What is Linga Bhairavi Stuti? 33 names of the Devi. You're just chanting the name of God. And that itself is considered as a portal to find God. So we must all, as we go through each chapter, make sure we are all memorizing and we know the right pronunciation of the names. We cannot learn. If those of you who can learn the chanting, go ahead and learn. I tried it. I did chapter 12 halfway and I gave up. I just too much time. It didn't work for me. Some point I will, but at least let's learn the name of, all the names of Krishna, the name of Arjun, and understand that. So he calls him Pritha, son of the warrior queen. How can you be so unmanly? And this is where people, are saying, is Krishna trying to instigate him towards violence? He's not. We discussed that, how he has seen these seeds in him. He knows he is not a Buddha. And this, by allowing him or saying or validating that, okay, giving him this excuse, you go and live in the forest. No, he cannot be a sannyasi. That's not his path. That is not his makeup. That's not his type. So, so now he's saying, how can you be so important? You are talking so much wisdom. In the first chapter, he said, women will become widowed. All of this disgrace will come. He gives so many arguments from the text and from the scriptures. He talks like a pandit. He's speaking all this wisdom. And now he is saying, and still he is appearing so confused. So Krishna is reprimanding him. He is in some way teasing his ego, attacking his ego. And he wants Arjun to make up his mind. So he's also indicating to Arjun that he is not really coming from a place of wisdom and compassion, because if that was the truth, then he would not be facing confusion and grief. But he is facing confusion and grief. So all his talk that I feel pity, I feel grief, no, that is not true. So, Swami Sarvapriyananda mentioned that 38 times in the whole of Bhagavad Gita, Arjun has been referred to as Parth, and 25 times as Kaunteya. Kaunteya is son of Kunti. So 38 times Parth means his ability for, his ability as an archer, as a warrior, as a kshatriya is being invoked all the time. Is being invoked more often, that you are a warrior. How can you run away? The next few. Fourth was Arjun said, "Oh Madhusudan, how can I shoot arrows in battle on men like Bhishma and Dronacharya who are worthy of my worship, O destroyer of enemies?" So Arisudana is another name for Krishna as destroyer of enemies. Madhusudan is another name for Krishna, the slayer of the demon Madhu. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to enjoy life by killing these noble elders who are my teachers. If we kill them, the wealth and pleasures we enjoy will be tainted with blood. We do not even know which result of this war is preferable for us, conquering them or being conquered by them. Even after killing them, we will not desire to live. Yet they have taken the side of Dhritarashtra and now stand before us on the battlefield. So even arguing with these elders, Arjun says, is improper. And how can I fight them? So Swami Mukundananda in his commentary on these shlokas, he says, "Oh Krishna, please do not doubt my courage." This is what Arjun is saying. Please don't doubt my courage. I'm prepared to fight. But from the perspective of moral duty, my duty is to respect my teachers and to show compassion to the sons of Dhritarashtra. So Swami Mukundananda says this is how he's talking. Now, Arjun is not listening to Krishna. Okay, now Krishna told him, Arjun, how can you be like this? You know, you're an Aryan, you're a Kshatriya, but Arjun has his own stories running in his head. This is what happens to all of us, no? We are asking for answers and then we are not even listening to what the other person is saying. We are just too busy with our own stories. And then we are in modern day and mindfulness practices talking about be in the present moment. This is Arjun's time to be in the present moment. He's not listening to Krishna. Now, it appears that he's asking Krishna what is dharma. But in reality, he is trying to tell Krishna what is dharma. He's telling him, Hare Krishna, how can I fight? These are my teachers. You know, it is my moral duty. He is asking Krishna what is dharma and then telling Krishna what dharma is. And who is he telling? A man who is a walking, talking scripture. So, so he is asking Krishna what is right and what is wrong. And then he is trying to tell him what is right and wrong. So this is from Swami Vivekananda. Swami Sarvapriyananda mentions this. Old religion says one who doesn't believe in God is an atheist. But the new religion says one who does not believe in himself is an atheist. So Arjun is wavering. There is no confidence left in him. He's fragmented. This fragmentation is a problem. I am confused about my duty and I'm besieged with anxiety and faint-heartedness. I'm your disciple and I'm surrendered to you. Please instruct me for certain what is best for me. For the first time, Arjun is saying, I am your disciple. I am surrendered. You tell me what to do. So far, he's been telling Krishna, this is what is the best. How can I do? He's putting arguments. He's quoting scriptures. For the first time, he says this. Now, this verse is a very, very important verse, 2.7. This verse, Swami Sarvapriyananda says in their monastic tradition, when the monks or anybody is going through a lot of confusion, does not understand what to do, then in the night, prayerfully chant this mantra, this shloka a few times. And then you go to sleep. And in your dream, Krishna will come and answer that. So he says it's an interesting practice. And definitely one of the shlokas that we must all memorize, I will share the clip which teaches the memorizing of this. But just for today, let's at least chant this. So I will say the first line, then I will repeat. Those of you who want can repeat, otherwise just be with it. So, कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यत् श्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे यत् श्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. So he's telling him, I'm your disciple, please guide me. What should I do? What is the best course for me? So first time he's admitting to his confusion. So one of the things that Sri Sri mentions in his commentary is till someone asks you for guidance, don't bother, because they're not going to listen. They will not listen. Wait for them to ask for guidance. Otherwise, you know, I do this a lot of free advice. You should not do this. But Arjun continues lamenting. I can find no means of driving away this anguish that is drying up my senses. Even if I win a prosperous and unrivaled kingdom on the earth or gain serenity like the celestial gods, I will be unable to dispel this grief. So Swami Mukundananda has mentioned on this shloka, he says, you know, when we are swamped in misery, then we use the intellect and our analytical capacity more. Okay, you know, we keep analyzing, keep weighing all the time, this, that. So Arjun is out of balance right now. That is why he's not centered. That is why we say he's in a grip of ego. If you are centered and you're balanced, you will not be in the grip of ego. So sometimes all our education, whatever we have learned, is insufficient to understand or to solve some of these problems of life. And that is what is happening. And that is when we need divine intervention. We need the divine to guide us. And understand this commentary, this explanation is coming from a Bhakta Yogi. You need the divine. All your education, all your study knowledge is not going to bring you to this, bring you the clarity that for situations that life can throw at you. So Sanjay said, having thus spoken, Gudakesh, that chastiser of enemies, addressed Rishikesh. Govind, I shall not fight, and became silent. So Arjun is Gudakesh, the chastiser of enemies. Govind is addressed to Arjun. I'm sorry, Govind is for Krishna. Krishna is the giver of pleasure to the senses. Rishikesh is a name for Krishna, the master of the mind and senses. We need this, isn't it? We need to invoke Rishikesh, a presence in our life. Rishikesh is the master of the mind and senses. Truly, absolutely, we need this. If we, to follow our yama for our restraint. So he says, I shall not fight. He actually declares it. He asks him what I should do, then he makes the decision also himself. So in the middle of indecisiveness, he says he will not fight. He's not sure what he should do. He asks and then makes a decision also. So see, sometimes when we are wavering, we have confusion in our mind, we try to cover up by making very decisive statements, no? And we will say things like, I firmly believe, this is my firm belief, but inside we are wavering. So then we try to do this cover up. This is what Arjun is doing. And we try to jump to conclusions to avoid those questions, to cover up that wavering and that doubt which is happening within us. And what does Krishna do? Krishna smiles at him. He is amused at Arjun. O Dhritarashtra, thereafter, in the midst of both the armies, Sri Krishna smilingly spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjun. So do you think Krishna is laughing? He's just amused at him. The Supreme Lord said, while you speak words of wisdom, you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. The wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So, chapter 2 is very esoteric. A lot of esoteric sutras and fruits are explored here. So Arjun so far has really spoken like how the wise ones speak, like how the Pandits speak. That is why Pandita, this word is used. And Pandita, Swami Sarvapriyananda in his commentary from Adi Shankaracharya, see, Pandita is usually, Pandit is in normal language now, even in the English dictionary, is referred to as someone who is very scholarly. But Swami Sarvapriyananda explains that in Adi Shankaracharya's commentary of the Bhagavad Gita, the word Pandita comes from Panda, which is connected with enlightenment about the self. So Krishna is saying, Arjun, you are talking like the enlightened one. And the enlightened one does not speak based on words. The enlightened one speaks from a place of experience. If you are speaking like that, how can you be confused and how can you be in grief? So he sees through Arjun. He sees through the deception that Arjun is putting himself through. So now, what has Arjun done? We all do this. When we want to make some conclusions, and Arjun has made some conclusions in his mind, not good to fight this war, not good to, fight my teacher and my guru, to fight my Pitamaha. When we have made some conclusions and we are not sure about it, we start researching. Let's find some argument which will support it. Isn't it? We will look at scholarly literature. We will look at this scripture or that scripture to find an argument which will support our standpoint. Don't we all do this? If you are debating or arguing with a friend on a particular aspect, you will say, no, but I studied in Yoga Sutras and Yoga Sutra says this and this is the authority. And we say, I have supported my argument with evidence from scriptures. This is how it is. This is what Arjun is doing. He's pulling all this argument from scriptures, but it is not his experience. He's not enlightened. He's just speaking on word-based knowledge. And word-based knowledge does not create enlightenment. So one of the questions that is put forth is, do you want truth to support you, or do you support the truth? So he is using all the arguments to support his standpoint. He is not standing up for truth. The dharma, the truth of that dharma, he is not following that. He just wants all the arguments to support him. Now, and he is quoting all these scriptures in front of a walking, talking, living scripture. Krishna is a walking, talking scripture. So, Atma, Paramatma, liberation, from the 12th to the 15th sloka. What is the time? I haven't looked at the time. I have, wait, it's 9:30. All right, I wanted to finish 18 shlokas. Let's see, we 8:30 to 9:50, definitely we have time, okay? Okay, let me do a few minutes. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Just as the embodied soul continuously passes from childhood to youth to old age, similarly at the time of death, the soul passes into another body. The wise are not deluded by this. Wise are not deluded, which means if you are truly wise, if you're truly enlightened, you are like a Buddha. If somebody passes in front of you, you will not start crying and moaning, and because you know that this is not the truth. So there's a very interesting thing. They say the opposite of birth is death. It is not, the opposite of life is not death. Opposite of death is not life. The opposite of birth is death. Life always is. It just keeps changing form. Eckhart Tolle has said that, I think. So, O son of Kunti, Kaunteya, the contact between the senses and the sense object gives rise to fleeting perceptions of happiness and distress. These are non-permanent and come and go like the winter and summer seasons. Now he's talking to him about Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. If you're enlightened, you should understand what is real, what is unreal, what is permanent, what is impermanent. Soul always exists. Why are you worried about this? So happiness, distress happens, and we must learn to tolerate without being disturbed. O Arjun, noblest among men, that person who is not affected by happiness and distress and remains steady in both becomes eligible for liberation. Purusha Rishib is the noblest amongst men. So he has used this for Arjun in one of these shlokas, okay? I don't have the Sanskrit for it here. All right. So let's get into this. At least let me introduce this. So what is moksha? Bhagavad Gita is a text on moksha. Pain and pleasures are the crests and valleys of the waves in the ocean of bliss. Deep down, there is utter fullness. Okay, ocean always is. Now, whether you like it or not, every wave is moving towards the ocean. He says the ocean always is, isn't it? Can you see the ocean? If I ask you, do you see the ocean? Can you see the ocean? We don't see the ocean, we see the waves. If you're saying you see the ocean, no, you don't know where it begins and where it ends. You cannot see it. From wherever you are standing, can you see the ocean? You may see water, but waves are also made of water. What we see are waves. We are not seeing the whole of the ocean. Okay? Just few points, just be with me. Now, Atma, soul, this existence always is. It's like the ocean. The body is appearance, like the wave. It comes and it goes. It will come for some time, it will rise, and then it will fall. It's like that. Now, if a drop wants to know what the ocean is, can you keep looking and analyzing at the ocean? So we are a drop from the ocean, correct? There is the ocean is like the whole consciousness, and our body has captured a small portion of that consciousness. Does that make sense? Just like ocean is all of the water, and the wave has captured a little bit of water. Does that make sense? Does that parallel make sense? Give me a thumbs up. Yes, everybody is with me on that. Okay. So if you want to understand what is the nature of that water or that consciousness, can you keep analyzing by looking at the ocean? Or the way to do it is to jump into it, to merge into it, or to feel it, to taste it. It's like, you can write a PhD thesis on what is salt, or the saltiness of the ocean. Okay, you can write a PhD thesis on it. You can do research. but you do not know what the saltiness of the ocean is till you just pick a little bit of salt and put it in your mouth. Then you don't need the PhD thesis. You know it by experience. Correct? So you have to jump into it. You have to experience it to be able to come into an understanding. These words that Arjun is giving are not giving him any understanding. That is just information. These are just arguments that he is using. So, and there is one thing that has been mentioned here, that seeking liberation is the longing of every soul. It's like every wave rises, but it goes back into the ocean. This is how nature is. Just like that, every soul is seeking liberation. I want to ask you all, does liberation mean anything to you? Do you want liberation? Please think about it, and I will share a link from Sadhguru on why liberation. Why are we talking of liberation? Right now, the only thing, if you are, most of us are asked, what do you want? We'll say, I want happiness. I don't want problems in my life. This is what we want. But if you're saying, I want happiness, remember, you are in the material world. If happiness happens, sadness will happen. This is how matter is. This is how the world is. This is how material existence is. Pendulum gathers momentum, swings to one side. It is only waiting to swing back to the other side. If you say that I want happiness to be replaced by happiness to be replaced by happiness, you are asking for bliss. And bliss is a quality of liberation. You can still be in this body, but you can be liberated. And that possibility exists. So if that is not exciting for you, Bhagavad Gita will have limited use for you, so to say. Now, what is impermanent and what is permanent? Krishna is trying to explain this to Arjun. That which is cannot be annihilated. Stay with me, okay, one by one. That which is cannot be annihilated. That which is not cannot be created. Do we agree? That which is cannot be annihilated, okay? Space is, ocean is, it cannot be annihilated, okay? That which is not cannot be created. So Swami Sarvapriyananda gives this example. The son of a barren woman. It is logically impossible, correct? That which is not cannot be created. A squarish circle, it's a logical impossibility. It cannot happen. So this idea of isness is explored. Understand what is permanent and what is impermanent. Krishna is trying to tell Arjun this. Now, we only know things by touching, tasting, through our senses. That is why we miss this isness behind that which always exists. We are too identified by appearances. Imagine, we have read all this. We have this intellectual knowledge. Many of us come from this culture. We know that the soul never dies. Tomorrow, you lose your loved one. We will all be like Arjun. We will all cry. We will all, it hurts, it bothers. We are not in the state of the enlightened one who is not disturbed by it. We all get disturbed by it. So form keeps changing. Appearances keep changing. The visible will not always be visible. The wave will go back into the ocean. Today, I look like this. 20 years ago, I didn't look like this. In fact, the next moment, if you take my photograph right now, and in the next second, my photograph will look different, isn't it? Everything is changing every moment. Everything is constantly in change. So this is what Krishna is trying to tell Arjun, that understand what is permanent and what is impermanent. You are so identified with appearances. You don't want the appearance to change. This is not how life is. This is a ridiculous question that you are asking. You are saying that the wave should always remain the wave. It should not merge in the ocean. How is this going to happen? It does not happen. So understand, Arjun and Krishna are talking from two different dimensions. So look at it like this. I think I will have to stop after this, otherwise it will get very late. So Arjun is, sitting under the tree and Krishna is on top of the tree. Okay. Now, say a bullock cart is coming from 5 miles away. Krishna is on top of the tree, so he can see that bullock cart coming from 5 miles away, and he says, it is, it is, it is. Arjun is sitting under the tree. He says, no, it is not, it is not. Okay. Once the bullock cart keeps moving, comes closer to the tree, then Arjun also starts saying, is. Then it moves Further up, he sees it to a point and then it goes 10 miles away. Arjun says it is not, but Krishna says it is. If somebody is sitting in a helicopter, he can see even more. So Krishna is speaking from that dimension. For him, he can say this always is, the soul always is, life always is. But Arjun is only seeing what can be seen with physical eyes. He's identified with appearances. He says, no, this will disappear. He says that is, you are just looking at appearances. You are not looking at that road which always exists. It always is. These are forms which will come and go. This is just to give you an idea of the difference in their dimension. Where are they looking at things from? So Arjun does not know what is the deathless aspect. Arjun is worried about forms, shapes, and appearances. If you know only death, you are rooted in ignorance. If you know deathlessness, then you are rooted in knowledge. Okay. So something has to be permanent on top of which shapes and forms happen. It's like the screen always is. Images keep flashing and changing on it. The ocean always is. And waves keep happening and merging back into the ocean. The water always is. So this idea of isness is explored in this. Existence always is, and that which is not cannot be created. Okay, these are two opposite polarities. Now, if you're seeking liberation, what is visible? I already covered this. Waves cannot exist without ocean, correct? So appearances cannot exist without consciousness. Consciousness is, it is spread everywhere, and appearances exist in that consciousness. Life always is. I think I've already covered that. There is nothing more. So why do we experience restlessness? Why is Arjun experiencing restlessness? This will give you an idea of liberation. So Osho explains it like this, that our being is something like this. We are bound and tied. The whole being has been chained. When you get a body, it's something like this. You do not realize it, but from an enlightened being's perspective, the body has been chained, and as if it's only one finger which has been let loose and given freedom. Now, the being, whether you know it or not, wants to break free. That is why it will never stop at this much. That's why it keeps asking for more and more and more, whether it is through, I want to grow. So whether it is through knowledge, whether it is through shopping, whether it is, having another house, bigger house, keep expanding. So one way is to keep expanding your body, which is matter. Keep expanding my matter, aggrandizing more, and I will become so big. Or because when you are seeing, or it's like this, this finger has got a space through the keyhole, or you can see through the keyhole and you see only a small portion, but you want it all. So the way is to keep making the door bigger. You just keep adding more to yourself. Or another way is just break the door and go under the open sky. That is another way. So the enlightened one says, every being wants liberation, whether you like it or not. Sadhguru had said this in one of our satsangs in Mahashivratri, that you will, no matter how much you are given, the being is like that. It will want more and more and more, and it will not stop till it finds ultimate freedom, till it finds liberation. So I think I'll have to stop here. Otherwise, we'll not be able to take questions. Let's look at, okay. Inferiority complex is subset of ego. Yes, inferiority complex happens because of ego. Last class, chapter 1, we did one shloka where Arjun is overcome with fear and anxiety. His ego has been punctured enough to be receptive. It reminded me of 1.31 of Yoga Sutra. What is the 3.1? I don't remember numbers.
So I think, Swati, I was absent that day. I missed the first class. But,
okay.
When you're talking about, why initially in this today's class and the last class, that Arjun is got all the good reasons to be where he is, but there's one shloka, I forget which one that was there in the last class, where his hands are trembling, he's facing all of that, right? And that reminded me about 1.31, which is, I'm just coming to that.
Dukkha
Dukkha
daurmanasyangam eja yat
yeah.
prashvasa.
And I thought that was very
yes.
interesting for me to kind of realize that the with all the intent, with all his ego and his skill as an archer, he's not able to, the dharma is not coming clearly to him. And it
very
connected
nice.
me with that. Yeah.
Very nice connect. Absolutely. He's not centered. So dukkha daurmanasyangam eja yatva. This sloka comes, this sutra comes after Maharishi Patanjali speaks of obstacles. He says there are 9 obstacles that can happen in your path. Okay. When you are faced with obstacles, what happens? Dukkha daurmanasyangam. Your body will start shaking. Angam, dukkha daurmanasyangam. You will feel that dukkha. And shvasa prashvasa vikshepaha sabhuva. Your breath will become shaky. And this is what is happening to Arjun. He's faced with an obstacle. It's a really solid obstacle, and it is manifesting in him. Okay, that's a nice connect. When call of duty, Dharma's question correct. Can you talk about why Nasadya Sukta doesn't contradict the Gita? I don't know what is Nasadya Sukta. I'm sorry. So you will have, if there is any other way to explain to me, I can.
Sorry, so that's a part of Rigveda, which is just essentially the hymn of creation. I think we all, as we were growing up, we heard it as there was a Hindi version of it at the beginning of Bharat Ek Khoj. I don't know if you remember the show. So it's essentially like it's one of my favorite parts of Hindu scripture that I have read. The reason being that it actually says we don't really know anything. That's the gist of it. Is that and the part that I was specifically thinking about is that it says that gods came after the universe was created, which is, it very explicitly kind of says that. So the general kind of spirit of that sutta is more about like, hey, we don't really know. We've kind of made up gods have come later. They're essentially manifestations of humans and gods. There's not much of a difference. It all came later. So we don't really know what started all of this. So there's a kind of a humility and curiosity. But when we listen to Krishna talk to Arjuna, there's a kind of a level of like, hey, I know what's happening and this is the right course of action. So I see a little bit of contradiction in kind of that part of Rigveda saying, we don't really know what's, where things happen. So there's that question. And then here there's like, okay, this is exactly what you should be doing. So I don't know if you see any contradiction there.
No, so Arjun does not know. Arjun is actually wavering. He does not know. He's creating a facade of I know by using arguments from scriptures. That's
no. I'm talking of like Krishna basically saying that, guiding Arjuna.
Krishna is not. So Krishna is explaining to him what. So see, Arjun is saying that the wise one has said all this. Okay, he's giving all this wisdom talk from philosophy. Okay,
yeah.
Now if you are actually wise, and if you're giving this wisdom talk, like Buddha, if he gave this wisdom talk, he was really wise, he would not be in confusion or grief. But Arjun is giving wisdom talk and being in confusion and grief. Krishna is an enlightened one. He's on a higher dimension. He actually knows. And he says that, Arjun, you are talking like this, but don't you see this basic truth? This is permanent, this is impermanent, and you're getting so attached to appearances and forms. And that is what is stating. If you are so wise, he's actually puncturing his ego, like he said. He's saying, if you can really see what you are saying, then you will see that these appearances are not true. That these are simply forms and appearances, and consciousness always is. Life is. You're not killing anybody. That Krishna is enlightened. Krishna is an enlightened being, and that is why it is Bhagavad Gita. It is called the Song of God. It is the Song of God. So if you're, don't treat Krishna like a character. That is why when we began Bhagavad Gita, we said we are listening to God himself. So this is the Song of God. Krishna is saying this. He is the enlightened one. And just for you to know in chapter 10 or 11, it's Vibhuti Yoga. Krishna said, Arjun asked Krishna, how do I know you? Who are you? So he gives many ways to know him. And he says, one of the ways, he says, I am Rig Veda. So Rig Veda is just all music. Am I right? It's Rig Veda. Yeah, it's all music. Am I right? It's all music. It's all about music. There is no analysis and philosophy.
I think,
So if
Swati,
you want-
that's he mentions Samveda, and that's what
Samaveda.
yeah. He mentions I'm Samveda.
Is it Samaveda or is it Rig Veda?
Samaveda.
No, Samaveda.
I will just hold on. I think it's Rig Veda because the first sukta of Rig Veda is to Agni, and I think Krishna connects to that. I will check on this and I'll confirm on chat.
Yeah,
So
because reading this right now, and that was one of the questions I had kept that I'll ask for you, is that why does he identify, like typically we know of Rig Veda as the main Veda, and I was like, why is he identifying himself as Samveda? But anyway, go ahead.
Because he says that it is connected with music. He's not somebody who you can know through logical conclusions. Krishna cannot be known through logical conclusions. But if you have that heart and that feeling, if music touches you, you will be able to know the sense of what Krishna is. And on your point on I know and I don't know, I would just like to say this. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but one, clearly, Krishna is an enlightened being. So you cannot speak of Krishna as somebody who's saying, I know. Yes, he knows. We are all here to listen to him, and that is the premise on which we are working. But for us as sadhaks, as people who are trying to learn, don't say, I know. Always be with I don't know. And that's going to come up in the next few slides, because I don't know is always bigger than what you know. Whatever you know will only be so much. What you don't know is bigger. So if you keep saying, I know, you will keep closing your doors. This is what is called a stupid conclusions. This is what happened with Sartre, with Nietzsche. They made conclusions. They did not open it to questions. In that chat, I had shared that about Sartre. So they made these conclusions. Sadhguru as sadhaks, he tells us, never make stupid conclusions. Just be with I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. There are people who are suspicious and there are people who are skeptic. The suspicious one will say, all this is nonsense. Concluded, made a conclusion, and every conclusion is death. The one who is a skeptic actually has a possibility for growth, because he says, I don't know. Now there is possibility to grow. But if you're going to make conclusions, you will lock yourself in gates. So that's the only thing I want to say on know and don't know. As far as Krishna goes, for us, he is the enlightened one. We are all here to listen to him. So yes, for him to say, I know, is true. Right now, he's not even begun to say, just wait. Just wait when he comes to chapter 4 and he comes to chapter 10 and 18. He's when he gives you his Vishwarup Darshan. And another thing I would like to say, that, where is creation coming from? Where are gods coming from? These are questions which are far away. So that's why I always tell people, study Yoga Sutras first. It establishes basics and fundamentals very nicely and also guides us. He says, ask questions close to home. What matters to you? What does it matter to you? What is important to you? What will make a difference for you? What will create an inner revolution for you? Ask those questions. Where did the world come from? The chicken, the egg? You will keep doing this. This is all intellectual gymnastics, which will give you intellectual pleasure, but you will not grow, and whole life can go in this. So very important to ask questions close to home that will help us grow. How can I apply? So if we are looking at ego, how can I apply this in my life? We are all Arjun. The battlefield is inside us. These conflicts keep happening to us all the time. So these are the only things which are flashing to me from whatever I have studied and learned. I don't know if it answers your question, Sudarshan.
No, it doesn't. I think I have to wait for the later chapters. I'm definitely not closed or anything like that, far from it, but I was just kind of, as I think, I don't know which part of maybe about 10-15 minutes ago, there was something in what Krishna says to Arjuna that had a kind of an air of definitive language, is very definitive, and that, like, to me immediately triggered that part of the Rig Veda, which was kind of more, open-ended, which kind of like seemed like a contradiction. That's why I kind of the way I posed the question was not like, hey, I see a contradiction. It was like, do you see a contradiction?
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So Rig Veda, yes, I think you may be right. Rig Veda is the one that is going through logic and through all the analysis aspect, and Samveda is music. Is that right? I may be making a mistake there. Okay, so Samaveda, the music one, is what he says he is. That's true. Anything else? Anybody else? Any thoughts, questions, comments? So far, so good. Whatever I've shared, is it making sense? Is it working for you? Okay. So I will keep posting. Next Sunday, I cannot hold the class. I am traveling for a yoga program, so I'll not be here. But I will share certain things on the group chat. Please keep reading. Just stay connected to Krishna. Just marinate yourself. 4 years, if you can marinate yourself in Krishna, I'm telling you, you will come out a different person. And some of us who have done this have experienced this. You really come out a different person. You must marinate your mind in Krishna. Literally, there is no other way to express it. And we will do certain practices that will help us with it. Everybody good? Anything else? Everything clear? Feel free to ask whatever questions, thoughts, comments. I don't know everything. I'm also studying and presenting this to you. If I don't know, I'll find out for you. We have some fantastic practitioners on Pooja's just left. So Pooja has a very, very solid practice for 20 years. She's been into Vipassana. We have some really solid practitioners in our group, okay? Really a fantastic sadhak. So, and who can definitely contribute to our learning. So if that's okay, then we will just take the closing answer. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Namaste. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Swati.
Thank you. Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Divya. Thanks, Manish.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Karishma.
Swati.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Divya.
No, I'm just saying thank you. Just saying
Thank you
thank
so much. How is it going for you, Divya?
No, it's going good. It's going good. I'm, catching up with the time difference a bit. So I'm sorry I got a little late today. No, but
Where
I'm
are you
loving
Where are you joining from?
Delhi right now.
Oh, you're joining from Delhi. I see. So I'm sorry, so have you studied the Bhagavad Gita before?
Hanji. I've studied it in Singapore. Chinmaya Ji's Gita I've studied.
Okay.
Also try to go to the Chinmaya mission here and, it's just, there's so much to learn.
There's so
So-
much to learn with the Bhagavad Gita. That's true.
But I think about everything, right? Hard to apply, but I think it helps. The Yoga Sutras that you read, Swati, literally I'm reading it every day in the morning. Even two paragraphs.
I will send you, if I see the Yoga Sutra, full classes are like over 20, 25 sessions. It's a lot. But I used to do a preliminary sort of a practice for beginners, where I would introduce them to key concepts in Yoga Sutras. I don't know if it's too basic for you or anything, but I have that recording. If you want, I can send it to you. Take a look at it. Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Okay.
So
I'll
need to
send it to you. It's not so
solid
detailed.
things. I know, solid things, like
Yeah.
discipline and, like make the environment around you happy. Only then actually you can do anything, right? If there's so much stress outside, you can't do anything. Forget spiritual work.
Correct. So who do you live with in Delhi, and where are you in Delhi?
I'm currently in Sainik Farm in Delhi. I live with my husband and my mother-in-law, but husband is mostly not here. I'm mostly by myself, but I travel a lot to New York. Both the kids are in New York.
I see. How old are your children working there?
Hanji, daughter's doing her residency in surgery, and son has just started working. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
very nice.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And Sangeeta is a very, very dear friend, and she's spoken so highly of you.
Oh, she's very sweet.
No, and she herself has changed so much, my God, I look at her and she's such an inspiration for me.
Very nice.
Yeah, yeah. So, there's nobody else on the chat now, just me and you.
Yeah. Wait, let me stop the recording.